Hello friends, this is John. I have a 5 years experience teaching Microsoft Office applications and specifically Microsoft Excel. Today I bring you a video explaining Microsoft Excel basics where we'll be focusing on functions. Functions are very useful in Microsoft Excel as it helps us perform calculations. Remember, the main function of Microsoft Excel is to help us solve mathematical problems. So having predefined formulas in Microsoft Excel greatly helps us to achieve our goal while using Microsoft Excel. So before I get started, if you like this video, kindly subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you get notifications every time I release a new video. And having said that, then let's get started. What is a function? A function is usually a predefined formula that performs calculations using specific values in a particular order. As of December 2019, MS Excel had 479 functions. Rather, actually the most common functions in Excel includes sum, average, count, minimum, maximum. All these functions will be helping you to solve different mathematical problems in Microsoft Excel, and you need to learn how to go about it. You need to know how to use them. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to use these and other most common functions in Excel, and this includes sum, average, count, SUMIF, if, date and time, and Vlookup. The first function on the list is sum. Sum is a predefined function in Microsoft Excel that will help you to look for the sum of values. To help us see how this function works, I have some values that I had pre-entered here. I'll be sharing this in the description below, but you can also have yours. So to get started, friends, you need to click where you want the sum of the values to appear. I can either have it on this location, or I can also have it here depending on which values I want to sum. For instance, I can have my answer appearing in this cell here. So I just need to activate that cell. Remember that Microsoft Excel usually uses what we call sheets, and sheets will usually be ruled into rows and columns, and the intersection of the row and column will actually give us what we call a cell. And you find that for you to be able to write in any given cell, you need to first of all activate it, and the activated cell will always have these green borders allowed it. So when you click on a certain cell, it will have those borders allowed it. So getting back to our formula function, I mentioned that you need to first of all click where you want the answer to be, and that is by just activating the cell. So after that, you can just come and put the equal sign. Every formula in Microsoft Excel has to start with an equal sign, but remember, in this case we are talking about functions, so we would not be required to enter the equals sign ourselves, so it will actually be automatically fed for us. So instead of writing the equal sign for ourselves, the easiest way is just to click where you want the answer to be, and then at the home you just go and locate the auto sum. Just go and locate the auto sum. So when you click the auto sum, what you'll notice is that the function that will help you to look for the sum of the values will be written for you automatically where you left the active cell. all the function will be written on the active cell automatically. And you'll find that this is a very simple function. So the function itself starts with an equal sign, the function name, which is sum, and in parentheses we have the cell range. So we have the first cell and we have the last cell. So this range actually now represent all these other values. So this is a function that you can even write yourself, but to save time you can just enter it automatically. So this will be the structure of every given function in Microsoft Excel. So it will always start with an equal sign, then it will have the sum, or the function name rather, and in brackets it will have the values. And remember, we said that a function is a predefined formula that will help you to solve calculations, or that will help you to calculate using specific values in a specific order. So you need to give the function name and the values that the function will work with. So having said that, then if now I want to display the answer or the sum of these values, I just need to hit enter on the keyboard, and the sum of those values will be displayed there. So let me just do it once more using this column. So I said you just need to click where you want the answer to appear, and then after that at the home, under the editing group, you just come and click the auto sum. So upon clicking the auto sum, the function will automatically be written where you left the active cell. So, and the function itself will start with an equal sign. It will have the function name, that is sum, and in brackets or parentheses you're going to have the values in what we call a range. So we just have the first one and we will have the last one. Remember, in this case we are using what we call cell reference. I hope by this point you know what are cell reference. So every cell in Microsoft Excel will actually have a name, and this name is usually derived from the column name and the row number, the column name and the row number. So in this case we are talking about C2, which is the intersection of column C and row number 2. And we are now again coming to the last cell in that range, which is C14. So that's why we have these values here as C2 and C14. So C2 and C14. So by writing this this way, Excel will know that you want to sum all these values automatically. So now that's how you can look for the sum of values. But what if you have all these values, or even more than this, to sum? So you don't need to go and summing each and every column at a time. If you just sum the values in the first column, you can actually now come and copy the formula. So you ask, how do you go about that? So it is very simple. After you find the first or the sum of the first column, just click the answer, and you'll notice that at the corner of the cell we have a certain square. So this is the square that we want. So it's a very powerful tool that will help us to copy the formula. So just point at that square, and then you notice a big plus. So notice the difference between this plus and this one. So this is what we need. So after you see that clause, then left click, and without releasing the mouse, you drag. So you will drag up to the last column, containing the values that you want to sum. So upon releasing, you're going to see the sum of all those values in the different columns. But first of all, you have to be correct in the first case, because if you're not correct in this case, then you'll be copying the wrong formula along. So there are different ways that you can go about finding the sum of values. So the one that I've shown you is the first case. But you also find that, as I mentioned, sum will be the only function in Microsoft Excel that will have a keyboard shortcut, and this keyboard shortcut is Alt equals. And to when you press Alt equals once, it will just display the function that will result to the answer. And when you click the equals again, it will now display the answer itself. So let's just try that practically rather. So just say Alt equals. So you'll notice that the first column will be selected and the function itself will be written as we had seen before. So if I press enter, that will display the same answer. But if I don't want to see the function, I can just come and press Alt equals twice. So I hold Alt and then I press the equals twice. So that will display the answer. So I can now come and just copy the formula along. I can also look for the sum of the values along the rows. So that was along the columns. I may also want to know the sum of the values along, like that. So I will use the same way. So I can just come and leave the cursor where I want the answer displayed. Remember, the answer can be displayed anywhere, or it can appear anywhere within this sheet, or even within another sheet within this workbook. So I can just come and click where I want the answer to be, and then I can just come and click the auto sum. And then now here you notice something, that it has just selected the first cell, where that is not what I want. So I want to have all of these values along this row summed up. So to solve this is very simple. So you just need to know the basics of functions. So and we talked about how you go about that. So the function itself, we said that it will have an equal sign, then the sum, and then in brackets it should have the values that you want to add. In this case we have only one value, and that is the 949. So if you want now to include all these values, and in a simple way, you just come and write the first value and the last value. And remember, you're not writing them as they appear here, like 89 and 949. You'll be using the cell references. So what I can do here is that I can simply edit the formula and write the first value, or the location of the first value that I want to add. That is B2. So I'll write B2, and then I'll have the full colon, and I'll write the last one, that is the E2. So I can just write E2, and you'll now notice that the whole of that row containing the values will be highlighted in blue color. So upon pressing the equals, I should see the answer. And when you click the answer, you should also see the formula used in this case up here in the formula bar. The other way that you can edit that formula is by just selecting the values themselves. So say I want to sum these values in this row, so I can just click the location where I want the formula to be displayed or the answer to be displayed. Then I click the auto sum, and then I can just come and click the values or select or highlight the values that I want to sum, like that. So remember, when you are calculating values within a row using the function sum, it will always have some issues. It will not capture it as it was capturing it when you're working within the columns. So you need to know how to edit the function, and for you to be able to edit, you need to be able to understand it in the first place. So I can also autofill the formula by just left clicking and dragging this downwards. Other than left clicking and dragging, you can also double click. So you can also double click and it will show you the answers. It will show you the answers. So let me just put them there. So that is the function sum, and those are just the simple ways that you can go about it. The next function on the list is average. So average is another Microsoft Excel function or predefined or pre-built formula that will help you to look for the average of values. So just like we have seen with the function sum, the average will look the same, only that now the function name will be average. So what do I mean? If I want to look for the average of these values, what I can do is that I can just come and click where I want the answer to be, and then I can press equals. Let me just write it manually this time loud, and then I show you how you can enter it manually or automatically rather. So equals, and then I can write average, and then you notice that as I write the word average, it appears here. So like as I type a word or a letter rather, I will see a function that starts with that letter that I have written. So I've written the letter A, and all the functions starting with the letter A appears. And as I now continue to narrow down to my function name, it will appear. So like I want average in this case. So when I write AVE, I should see average somewhere. So I should see all those values starting with this prefix, the AVE. So I can just come and pick my average by just double clicking, and you notice that there will be this balloon that will be appearing here. There will be this some sort of a help stuff that will be appearing here, and when I come and click the average, I'll see what that will do. So the average will return the average or arithmetic mean of its arguments, which can be numbers or names, arrays or references that contain values. So these will just be some tips that will be helping you on what a certain function that you've selected will do. So I'll just double click it, and then now you'll notice again down here I have this stuff here. I've forgotten the name. Yeah, but it will be very useful when you are writing a function manually, because it will help you to get along. So like you can see now, the function name is average, and in parentheses it wants the values, and you find that the first value here is in bold, so that means this is a required value or a required number, but the rest are optional, so you can find for the average of all these different values within the same function by just putting commas and putting cell edges and putting cell edges. So I'll just put the first number in this case, which should be the range from A2 to C2, like that. Then I close that bracket. So this is the function average, and the arguments which will be in brackets. So we have the function name and the arguments, which are the values that will be average, or that we are finding the mean of. So when I press enter, it should give me the mean of the values. So the other way is I can just come and at the home, I go to editing group, and then at the AutoSum, this time loud, other than clicking the AutoSum, I click the drop down next to it, and then I will see average. So this is the way that you can enter the function automatically. But because we are dealing with this in a low manner, that we are looking for the mean of values that are within a low, you find that we'll be having a problem here. So to fix that, you can just come and select that, and you're going to see now the function name and the arguments, where now you can come and just press enter. And in this case now you can copy your formula downwards by just double clicking. If in another case you would want to find the average of the values within the columns, you can simply do just what you've done here. So where you just come and click where you want the answer to be, then you come and click the drop down next to the AutoSum, and then average, and the function will be written automatically. Where now you can come and copy your formula along. So practice that until you see that you can be able to do it on your own. The other simpler way that you can find the average of these values is by selecting all of them and then leaving an extra row where the answers will be displayed. Then after that, you can go to the AutoSum, click the drop down next to it, then you click average. So that will display the average of the values automatically. So the next function, hoping that average is now clear to you, the next function is count, and this is very simple. So this function usually helps you to count values, or to count a contact within the cells. So like how many values do we have in this column, how many values do we have in this row. And just like you've done with the rest of the functions, you just need to click where you want the answer displayed, then you go to the AutoSum, you click the drop down next to it, then you're going to see count numbers. So it will again display the function, so you'll have equals the function name, in this case being count, and the arguments or the values, which in this case is B1 all through to B13. Remember, you can also find for the rest of the columns in this case, but we're not going to extend to that first. So first of all, get to know how to go about this, and then you can try to put a comma and select other columns that you want to count. So in this case, I'll just press enter, and it will show me the count of these. So like when counted, how many are there? And of course, when I copy that formula, it it will show me that all of these are 13. Whatever I come and remove 1, so it should not count that because this is a blank cell. So remember what it is basically doing, the function count, what it's basically doing is that it is counting the contents of the cell. So if a cell is blank, it will not be counted, but there is still another function that will help you to count the blank cells. So the count basically helps you to count the non-blanks, so like those cells that are not blank. Remember, you can also highlight all the values and leave an extra row where the answers will appear, and then you come and click the drop down and then you say count numbers, and it should show you the answer automatically. So that is the count, and basically, as I've said, it will help you to count the values within a certain range. Moving on to the next function, SUMIF. So as the name suggests, these are functions that will be counting if a certain condition is met. So here we have some logical stuff. So a certain condition should be met before any value is included in the sum. So for instance, we can still use these values to see how the function SUMIF works. So the easiest way to go about this is to click where you want your answer to be. In this case, we are going to take a different route. So other than going using the auto sum, we are going to go to formulas. And then under formulas, under the function library, because we said we have lots of functions actually, which will be placed in different categories, including and we are going to see the auto sum that we've been using or that we've been seeing at the home. So under the function library, just go to insert function, and here you're going to see the most recently used functions, or the functions that I've used recently. So among the list, I'm going to see my SUMIF. So if you can't locate a function that you want to use, you can always come and type it up here. So like you can just come and say SUMIF, and then you say go, and you should now be able to see the function. All right. Yeah, you should be able to see the function appearing here. So what you just do at this point is to select the function that you want, and then you just come and say OK. So now you notice that this dialog window will appear. So it will have these requirements that you have to provide. So you'll be having the range, and you also find that below here you'll be having an explanation of what each and every one of these stuff means. So like the range is the range of cells that you want evaluated. So which are the values that we want evaluated? So we have to come and select those values. So like the values that you want evaluated are these ones. So you find that it will just light the range, so from B4 to B13, and the values will appear there, which is the criteria. So the criteria is the condition in the form of a number, expression, or text that defines which cells will be added. So here we can just come and say that it should add values that are less than 100, for example. So the condition is that the SUMIF function should sum values that are less than 100. So if a value is 101 and above, it should not be added. It should not be summed up. So we have also the sum range, and these are the actual cells to sum. If omitted, the cell in the range are used. So this is where you can again narrow down and specify the specific range of the values that you want added, but this is an optional field. This is an optional field, so you don't have to fill this you don't have to fill this unless it is required. So I will just leave that out, and before we even click the OK, you'll find that the formula results are already out, and upon clicking the OK, I should see the answer. So in this case now we have the sum of those values within this range that are less than 100. So we can repeat the same using the second column so that you can get to understand that, and I'll just click where I want the answer to be, and the formulas I'll click insert function, and that now I'll come and select my function, which is SUMIF, and then I'll say OK, and the range in this case will be this range, and I can now use a different scenario here, and I say the values that are greater than or equal to 100. So this is a criteria that I'm setting here. So the criteria is the values that are to be summed up should be greater than or equal to 500 there, 500, and I should have the answer already. So when I click OK, I should have that answer there. So you hope you get the idea. So the SUMIF is a function that will be helping you to sum up numbers that will meet a certain criteria that you'll set yourself. So you have to set the criteria which will be used by the function when calculating. Alright, so that is SUMIF. Hope you get how to go about it. Practice until you see that you can be able to work with it. The next function on the list is if. If is actually a logical function, and this function will be helping you to evaluate values and then return two results, or it will return either true or false depending on a certain condition. So what do I mean here? That the function if can be used to evaluate a certain value, for instance, and if a certain condition is met, a certain result will be produced, and otherwise another result will be produced. So let me show you an example so that you understand practically what I mean. You may not be able to understand it theoretically. So in this case, I have a list of items. I have rice, sugar, chocolate, I have smart TV, butter shoes, etc. So I want to use the function if to evaluate if this word is rice, and if it is rice, it should return true, and if this is not rice, the function should return false. So the function should evaluate whether this the content in this cell A2 is rice. So if it finds that it is yes, it is rice, then it should return true. But if it finds that what we have in cell C2 is not rice, it should return false. So how do you go about that? So just click where you want the answer to be, then you can go to insert function, look for the if function, select it, and then you come and say OK, And before we continue, we can be able to read here and see what the function does. So it checks whether a condition is met and returns one value if true and another value if false. So that's basically what I was saying. And this will be the function. So it will have a function name, that is the if, and the arguments. So let me just continue to show you how this works practically. So I'll select the function and then I'll say OK. You notice that a part of the function will be inserted. So the equals sign is already there, the function name. So what we are now putting is the arguments which should be within this parenthesis. So now we have different requirements or fields or arguments, function arguments that you have to provide, which should be appearing within these brackets, as I've said. And the first one will be logical test. Logical test is any value or expression that can be evaluated to be true or false. Remember, we said that the function if will be evaluating a value and it will be returning true or false. So what we are putting in this field, or the logical test, what we are calling the logical test, should be anything that can be evaluated. So you cannot just come and put something that cannot be evaluated. So the value to be evaluated in this case, which is what we are calling the logical test, is what we have in A2. So we are evaluating the context of A2. So we've said that we want to evaluate a rice. Remember, we've said that the logical test is any value or expression that can be evaluated. So this is something that can be evaluated even if it is not an expression or a value. So now, after selecting that, you find that it has been entered within the parenthesis, and then now, after being evaluated, you see that we've been told that that is not a value, but let's continue. It will still work. So the next thing is that after the function now evaluates this. Oh, sorry. We've not completed this. We've not completed this. We should have it as an expression. Rather, we should not just have it as it is. We should have it as an expression. So I'll need to come and say A2 is equals to, and then I put some quotes here and I say rice. So I'm just equating what is in cell A2 with this, with lice. So that now if it is not lice, then it will return another. And then you find that we already have an answer. It has already evaluated the context of A2. So it went to cell A2, looked at the context of the cell A2, and found that they are equal to what I have written here. So I've said A2 is equals to lice, and that has appeared there. So I can now come and say, if it is true, what should it return? So this now is the logical test. This now is the logical test, which is an expression. So remember, as I've corrected there, is that the logical test should be a value or an expression. So in our case, it is an expression. So now, if it is true that what we have in A2 is lice, so what should we have? So we can maybe come and say, just come and say true. But if it is not lice, so like what we have in cell A2 is not lice, it should return false. So we already have a formula result here that it is true that in cell A2 we have lice. So when I come and say OK, I should have the answer as true, and this is the formula that if A2 is equals to lice, return true, but if it is not, return false. So that's basically what we are doing here. Say I come and replace this with shoes, for example. So it will return false because now it has evaluated the context of A2 and found that they are not equal to this, they are not equal to lice, so it will return false. So let me just do it once more here so that we get to understand. So I'll click where I want the answer to be, and then I'll go to insert function, if, and then I say OK, and then I'll come and see that the logical test is A2, whether A2 is equal to, I should put in brackets because now the word sugar that I'm about to write is not recognized by Microsoft Excel, so I should have it in quotes. So if you're not using words like true, false, or yes or no, if you're using other words in a formula or in a logical test, they should be in quotes. If you're using other words other than true, false, yes or no, any other word should be in quotes. So should have sugar. Sugar. And value, if true, maybe we can just use a different value here. You doesn't have to be true or false, you can write any value. So if it is true that what we have in cell A3 is sugar, then should return yes. But if in cell A3 we don't have sugar, it should return no. See, so we have yes. No. And notice that if you come and have the word misspelled, then it will be taken to be no, because what it is like doing is it is like equating this with this. So it's like trying to look for a match. So if they don't match, it will take it to be something else. So just be cautious on your spelling. So just that back. Alright, so that is that's how the function SUMIF works. And in this case you find that because we are dealing with text, we cannot copy the formula, so you need to look for the function. You need to write the function manually in each and every case. So let me just show you another way that you can use the function if. So mostly this function can be used by teachers in colleges, in high schools, or even in universities to help to evaluate students' results, or to be able to analyze students' results. So in this table I have some students. Who sat for a certain exam, and I want to grade these students. I want to grade them based on the average, based on their mean grades. So I will use the function if to help me to know the grade of each and every student. So what I'll do first of all is that I will look for the average of the marks. So I will highlight all of them and leave an extra column there. and then I can just come and say average, and it will give me the average. I would want to round off those values like that. So now what I will do is that I will use the function if to help me to grade these students. So first of all, before you get started with this, you should basically have a grading system that shows or that can be followed in the grading of the students. So having that, then you can just come and start writing your function. So I have my overhead, so I'll just start the formula. So I'll type it manually because it's quite a long formula. So I cannot just insert it as we've been doing with the rest. So any formula or any function should start with an equal sign in Excel, followed by the function name, and you find that, as I said, when you type the equals and then you start typing values, you see formulas that have those values. So I'll just come and pick the if function, and you're now going to see the arguments of the function if. So the first thing is the logical test, as you've seen before, and in this case the logical test will be if H12 is greater than or equal to 90. So that will be the logical test, comma. So if this value is greater than or equal to 90, if it is true, then that should return A. So if the function or if the formula goes to this cell H12 and finds that the value there is greater than or equal to 90, it should return A. What if it doesn't? What if it finds otherwise? So what should it return? So let's continue with the formula. So we should put a comma and continue. So here again you come and say if. So we repeat the if formula again, just in case what we have in cell H12 is not greater than or equal to 90. So again, if it is not greater than or equal to 90, so what should it do? So it will now shift to this other if. So again we'll have another logical test. So we say if this one, so still we'll be using the same cell. So if H2 is greater than or equal to 80, so is greater than or equal to 80, so that should be, so put a comma, so that should be B. And then we continue with the formula, so comma, and then we have another if, just in case again what we have in cell H12 is not greater than or equal to 80. So if cell H12 is greater than or equal to 70, yeah, 70, that should be a C. Again we continue putting another if. So if is greater than or equal to 60, that should be D, for instance, comma, if this is less than or equal to, say, 50, comma, that maybe should be E. And then now what I'll do is that I'll now come and close all the open parentheses. So I should count the parentheses or the brackets: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Press enter. So that gives me a C. So if it is yes, so and I'll now come and copy the formula, and I'll find that. So you find that if a value is less than 50, I said that should be an E. If it is not, if it is between now 70 up to 80, that should be a C, like that. So you find that you can use this function to just help you to grade students. So, and the good thing with this is that if there are any corrections that you are going to make, say you update your records like that, the average will be calculated automatically, and the grade will also be evaluated and changed automatically. So you find that that is the beauty of it. So if I come and change this, you find that the values will be changing as you change that. So the formula is quite long, but at the end of the day it will help you to do a lot of work. So this is something that you just need to type once, and then you can be able to copy it along. So try that until you are able to do it on your own. Moving on to the next function, this is an easy one, date and time, just to relieve us the pressure caused by the if function. So the date and time, this is a function that will help you to return the current time and the date, the current date, and this is per your system date and time. So Excel will help you to enter time and date automatically, and you can also be able to calculate dates. Say you want to see how many days are between a certain date and another date, so you can be able to do that. And if let's say you want to enter the time now, you can just come and say equals now, and then parentheses. So in this case we will not have arguments. So this is one of the functions that will not have arguments within the brackets. So you just light the brackets and then you press enter, and it should actually show you the date and the time now as per your system date and time. So for the date it will be equals, then you write today. So and then the opening and closing parentheses, again no arguments, press enter and it should show you the date. So these are date and time, and that's how you can be able to enter them or feed them in your book or in your workbook. So if you are to calculate dates, so it's very simple. So let me just enter the date here. You can just come and say subtract this from this. So so you can just come and say equals this minus this, then press enter. And then now here we should change this number format from a date to a general number, and it will give you 0 because we have the same dates here. So let me just come and change the date. Maybe I put 10 maybe 20/2020. So that is date 20 October 2020. Yeah, so that should give me the 157. So we have 157 days between 16th of May to 20th of October. Yeah, so you can now be able to use that knowledge to calculate the difference between dates, just to help you in different scenarios. So the next function in our list is Vlookup. Vlookup is another function that is similar to if, and you find that you can either use the Vlookup or the if, but the Vlookup is more powerful than the if I may say, because as you found with the if, there will be a lot of repetition. The formula is quite long. You have to write a lot of if statements. But with Vlookup, it will help you to ease that. It will help you to reduce all that writing all those statements. So the Vlookup, as the name suggests, is a function that will be looking up for values in a vertical manner. So it will be looking for values that are arranged vertically. And we also have the hash lookup, which will be now looking for values which are aligned horizontally. So the Vlookup will be this function that can help you to return, a certain value. So it can look up for a value in a certain column and return something on another location. So, what do I mean? Let's explain this practically so that you can be able to understand. So in this table, I have a list of items, and I can also come and have some quantities here, some quantities here like so. And now I can use the Vlookup to help me to get the price of rice. I can use the Vlookup actually to get the prices of all these. So what the formula will be doing is that it will be looking up for values, or it will be looking up for these stuff in this column, and then returning their prices. if you ask how that can be possible, so let's try it down here. So maybe we can write item here, and then here we write price. So now here we'll be writing the item itself, and it will be showing us the price. So we are going to have our formula written here, because this is where we want the result. The formula result should appear here. So I'll just click there, and then I say equals, then the function name, that is Vlookup, and upon writing that, so you just like write equals. By now I hope you know how to pick the function itself. So when you write VL, the function that starts with VL will appear. You can just come and double click it, and before we double click it, you notice that we have an explanation here of what Vlookup basically does. So it looks for a value in the leftmost column of a table, and then returns a value in the same row from a column you specify. By default, the table must be sorted in ascending order. So we can just come and pick the function itself, and then we are going to see the arguments. So the first thing is the function name, that is the Vlookup. And then the next thing is the lookup value. The lookup value is the actual value that we are looking for. So in our case, the lookup value will be written here. So it will be looking up for a value that will be written here, in which case it will be rice, it can be sugar, it can be chocolate, it can be all of these items. So you can even have the value written, but because ours will be dynamic, we've not written any, but you can write whichever, provided it is within this table. So the lookup value is what we have here, and then the next thing is table array. Table array is now the value that you have written here. Where should the formula look up for the value? So where should it look up for that value? So one of the things that you should have before you get started with the Vlookup function is, first of all, you should have a table array. So a table array is basically, such like table. The table similar to what we have here. So it's just a table that will contain, for instance, some items and some and their price. So in which case now you'll be looking for an item, and then the formula will be returning the price. So you should have a table that has the same logic. So even if not similar with what we have here, but something that basically looks like this. So, and which will act as our table array. So we are telling the function that the value that we have here, say we have lice here, it should come and look for the lice within this table array. So our table array will be this one. So we are going to select all of them. We can exempt the titles, the column headings. So the table array is this one. So we are telling the function, pick this value, pick what we have here, and then go to this table array and look up for that value. So the function has done that. So it picked the value or the contact here, came with it here, and now it has it. It defines that item. So what should it do next? So that's why we have the column index number. Well, that's where the column index number is coming in. Now the column index number is the value on the left that should be returned. So you're now telling it that after it finds the lice, what should it return? So it should now go to a certain column and return a certain value. In our case, the value is the price of the item. So the column index number is in which column do we have price of the item. So in our case, the price is in column number 3. So 1, 2, 3. The column index number is 3. So you are basically telling it that pick the value here, go to the table array, find that. After you find that value, from where you found that value, start counting columns. So count 1 up to 3. So return what is in column 3 along the location of the stated item. So the column index number in that case should be 3. So again you put a comma, and lastly, though optional, is what we call range lookup. So range lookup is where the function can look for an approximate match of what you have given the formula, or an exact match. Basically, when you are dealing with text, you'll always be going with exact match, because you cannot approximate a word. As much as you can shorten, the formula will not be able to understand that. So in this case, we usually use exact match. So you are telling the formula that the value that I have given you here, the lookup value, you should look for an exact thing. So you should not go and approximate. So in this case, we should say that we want an approximate, we want the exact match, and the exact match is represented by false or 0. False or 0. So we can now come and cross that. So just to explain now what we have here, so this is now the function Vlookup that will be helping us to look for the prices of these items. So we have basically the equal sign, the function name being Vlookup, and we have the arguments. In the arguments, we have the first one being the lookup value. The lookup value is the value that we'll be looking for. Remember, we said that we will leave it blank because we want to be dynamic. We will be looking up for all of these, but still you can write it if you want. So the range lookup will be an item that will be written here, but this item should be within this table. Then the next argument is what we call table array. So table array is a table containing the item that you'll be looking for. So the formula will be picking the item here and going to the table array to look for it. Then after finding the item, it should go to a certain column to return a certain value. And again, the value returned should be within the same row. So in this case now, we have the number 3 representing the column price, which is what we want returned. And then the last one is the range lookup, which is where we are stating whether we want the formula to look for an exact match or an approximate match, in which case we have used exact match because we are using text. So I can just come and enter that, and what it will now do is that it will tell me it is not available. So what does that mean? That the formula now picked a blank thing, went with it here, but it could not find a match, so it tells me it is not available. So now what I can do is that I can come and write the item that I want to look the price the item that I want to know is price. So I can say rice. Okay, rice. Say okay, and should give me the price automatically. To give me the price automatically. But remember, because we have used exact match, if you do a spelling mistake, that will be something else that will not work. I'll be showing you how you can eliminate this, because there are some scenarios where you be entering the function before you even have the values, and you may want to eliminate this annoying error, hashtag not available. So in another tutorial, I'll be showing you how you can be able to suppress or remove this. So and just to maybe for this tutorial help you to avoid the spelling mistakes, other than writing the value yourself, you can come and use another Microsoft Excel feature that can help you display those items in a drop down. So what you can do is that you can click where that drop down will be appearing, and then you go to data, and then you go to data validation, and the data validation in the allow section, click the drop down and select list. To that, at the source, come and select, first of all leave the cursor in that field, and then come and select your items that you want to appear in a drop down, and then you just come and say OK. So that should have a certain drop down next to the cell, which now when you click, you should see all these items appearing here. So it should just be a matter of selecting the item that you want, and the price of the specific item will be appearing automatically. So that marks the end of our tutorial, Microsoft Excel basics and most commonly used functions. So in our tutorial today, you are basically looking at or discussing the most used functions in Microsoft Excel. Hope you got an idea. Practice until you are familiar with all of them. Rewind, forward, pause until you can be able to understand every bit. See you in another tutorial.